You have watched enough motivational videos. You have read enough quotes. You have felt enough temporary rushes of, "This is the day I change everything," that disappeared by Thursday. And I'm not saying any of that was wasted, but I want to offer you a different explanation for why it keeps not working. Because the problem isn't that you haven't found the right motivational content yet. The problem is that motivation was never the thing you actually needed. What you actually need is proof. Proof that you can do the thing you keep almost doing. And that proof doesn't come from watching someone else do it. It doesn't come from feeling ready. It only comes from doing it badly, incompletely, imperfectly, and surviving the attempt. That's the only source of real, lasting confidence that has ever existed. This video is about how you actually get it. Motivation is an emotion, and like every emotion, it rises and falls on its own schedule, completely indifferent to your goals and your timeline. You cannot manufacture it reliably. You cannot summon it through willpower. You cannot maintain it through discipline alone, because discipline is itself dependent on a baseline level of belief that what you're doing is possible for you specifically. The motivation industry has built an entire economy on the idea that the right speech, the right playlist, the right morning routine will unlock something in you that was always there. And it does unlock something for about 4 to 6 hours. Then the feeling passes, the old patterns return, and you are exactly where you were before, except now you also feel guilty about not following through again. Here is what's actually happening underneath the motivation cycle. Every time you feel motivated and then don't act, you send your brain a message. This feeling is not reliable enough to take action on, and every time that happens, the threshold for what you need to feel before you act gets slightly higher. You need a bigger hit of inspiration to get to the same level of output, until eventually no amount of motivational content moves you at all, because your brain has learned that the feeling doesn't lead anywhere. You didn't fail because you lacked discipline. You failed because you were waiting for a feeling that your own history had taught you not to trust. The only way out of that cycle is not more motivation, it's evidence. Proof doesn't mean completing the big thing. It doesn't mean doing it perfectly or consistently or at the level you eventually want to reach. Proof is much smaller than that. And that's exactly why it works when motivation doesn't. Proof is doing the smallest possible version of the thing you've been avoiding. Not because you feel ready, not because you're inspired, but specifically because you don't feel ready and aren't inspired. That's the only condition under which real proof is generated. If you want to start writing, the proof you need is not finishing a chapter. It's opening a document and writing one bad paragraph. If you want to get fit, the proof is not completing a full workout. It's putting on your shoes and walking around the block. If you want to start a business, the proof is not launching a product. It's making one phone call or writing one email to one potential customer. These small actions feel almost embarrassingly insufficient. That's the point. Your brain doesn't need an impressive act to update its belief about what you're capable of. It needs a real one. Even a tiny, imperfect, barely counts as starting real one. Because here is what happens after you do the small thing. Not immediately, sometimes not for hours, but at some point your brain registers. I said I would do that, and I did it. That registration is proof, and proof compounded over time becomes the thing that motivation was supposed to be but never reliably was, the actual reason you keep going. I want to tell you about someone. He had wanted to get fit for 3 years. He had watched hundreds of hours of fitness content. He had bought equipment, downloaded apps, started programs on 3 separate Mondays, and abandoned them by Wednesday. He was genuinely motivated repeatedly. The motivation just never lasted past the first obstacle. A sore muscle, a busy week, one missed day that became 2, that became a month. The shift came when someone gave him a different instruction. Don't work out. Just put your shoes on every morning. That's it. Nothing else required. He thought it was ridiculous. But he did it. For 2 weeks, he put his shoes on every morning and then took them off. Sometimes he walked to the end of the street. Sometimes he didn't leave the house, but the shoes went on every single day. What happened was not dramatic. He didn't suddenly get motivated. He didn't have a breakthrough moment. He just started to notice that he was someone who put his shoes on every morning. And that person, the person who did the small thing consistently, gradually started doing slightly larger things, not from motivation, from identity. He had proof of who he was. 3 years of motivational content had not moved him. 2 weeks of a genuinely stupid small action had quietly begun to change what he believed about himself. That belief was the thing motivation had been pretending to create all along. So here is how you actually start building proof instead of waiting for motivation. First, identify the one thing you keep almost doing, not everything you want to change. The one specific thing that keeps not happening despite repeated attempts to feel motivated about it. That's your target. Second, make it so small it feels like cheating. The goal is not to challenge yourself. The goal is to make it impossible to fail. 2 minutes, 1 sentence, 1 rep, 1 email. Whatever version of the thing is so small that the only reason not to do it is pure resistance. And then do it specifically when you feel that resistance, not when the resistance is gone. Third, do it before you feel ready. This is the one that matters most. Readiness is not a precondition for action. It is the result of action. Every time you wait to feel ready, you are waiting for something that only arrives after you've already started. Start without it. The readiness will catch up. Repeat this for 30 days. Not perfectly, not every day necessarily, but enough times that your brain has real data to work with. After 30 days of doing the small thing, you will not need a video like this to feel motivated. You will be someone who does the thing, and that person doesn't need motivation. They have something better. They have proof. If you have spent months or years waiting to feel motivated enough to start, I want you to hear this clearly. The motivation you're waiting for is not coming. Not because you're broken, not because your goals are wrong, not because you're not the kind of person who does this kind of thing, but because motivation follows action. It does not precede it. You have been waiting at the wrong end of the equation. Do the smallest possible version of the thing today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not after you finish watching this video and feel a temporary surge of inspiration. Today, the small version, the embarrassingly small version that barely counts. That small act is not the beginning of a habit, it's the beginning of a belief. And the belief, built slowly, proven repeatedly, earned through action rather than inspiration, is the only thing that will actually carry you to where you want to go. If this shifted something, share it with someone who is still waiting to feel ready. My name is Zoni. Subscribe. This channel is for people who are done waiting and ready to start proving it to themselves. You don't need motivation. You need one small act of proof.